Let's go live to Stephen Conroy, my Sky News colleague. And let's start with Anthony Albanese. He's heading to Queensland and, well, wanting to show Queenslanders that he's heard the message, and he'll be campaigning in one of those seats that Labor lost, the seat of Longman.
Well, look, Albo's going to reach out to the 3 and 4 nearly Queenslanders who didn't cast a number one for Labor. I mean, that is a catastrophically bad primary vote at 26 or 27%. And so Albo's made the right call to go there. Queensland is not Sydney, it's not Melbourne. Queensland has to be treated absolutely separately, and it has to be understood in a different way to the Sydney and Melbourne political markets. And so Albo's trip up there is sending the first signal that Labor is listening and heard the message. He's now talking that Adani should go through the proper processes, which is absolutely appropriate. But at the end of the day, the question continues to be, the Adani mine is just a coal mine. There are bigger and many more coal mines in the area that have been approved. Yeah. Why has Labor allowed this to become some sort of, if you're in favour of climate change, you want to stop Adani going ahead. If you're opposed to climate change, you're in favour of Adani going ahead. That is just such a false dichotomy that Labor's been drawn into. It is a coal mine, and Australia has many of them.
And he's got to just move beyond this now and find a way, because it's going to be irrelevant to him anyway. It's either going to be built or not built, well and truly, certainly in terms of starting the build by the next election. So that's going to be a moot point for him. I said that he's campaigning up there. I can't get myself out of the language of the election campaign. He's not campaigning. Of course, he's just going to visit.
A listening tour.
Yeah, a listening tour is a better way to put it, exactly. But on the government, and they've got the Liberal meeting starting as we speak this morning. There'll be a wonderful, triumphant and buoyant mood in that party room. It's interesting, though, and I spoke to Angus Taylor about this, because they obviously have a mandate in terms of the domestic policy on climate change, but it is an issue whether people like it or not, and just within our region as Scott Morrison heads to the Solomons next week.
Well, it is. And look, I took great heart from Albo's comments in the last 24 hours about how he wants to work with the government to try and resolve a number of the big issues facing this country. Climate change was, he mentioned specifically. I think if both sides are prepared to compromise, we can finally put an end to the conflict around the climate issues. The government's position and Labor's position is not that far apart in terms of substance, if you listen to Warwick McKibben.
Exactly.
In terms of the politics of it, it's way apart. But the actual substance is, looking at all the modelling, Warwick McKibben said, no, there's not that much difference between Labor's argument and Liberals' argument in terms of its actual impact on the economy. So with a bit of give and take by both sides, and putting the national interest ahead of partisan interest, you can see an opportunity with Albo reaching out, holding the olive branch out to the Prime Minister. If he's smart, he'll take it, because he doesn't want to be distracted by the knuckle-draggers inside his own party. He wants to be able to put it to bed and get on with what he sees is his agenda, which is getting re-elected in 3 years' time and not fighting some climate war.
Because he's going to have a challenge on his hands if this campaign is anything to go by. As I discussed with Phil Curry earlier, it really was such a brilliant effort from Morrison in every sense, and now sets himself up in the similar frame to the most successful modern Liberal Prime Minister, John Howard.
Absolutely. I mean, his intent, his focus is on winning 10 to 15 seats from Labor. He's going to sandbag his existing seats. He's got a 2-seat majority. He's potentially going to be held hostage by a rogue Barnaby Joyce who's already started firing shots in the last 48 hours. So he doesn't need the distractions like that. He wants to cement his position with seats he holds, and he wants to win the next 10 to 15 off Labor. And so I think he will be ruthlessly focused. Scott Morrison's a former party director. He absolutely gets politics, and he knows success means winning those 10 to 15 marginal seats off Labor. That's where the debate will be. That's where he'll be focused, and Labor needs to understand that from day one. This is a very different beast to Malcolm Turnbull they're now facing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they know that because they got absolutely whipped a few weeks ago. Stephen, in terms of the front bench. What did you make of the reshuffle from Morrison? Did it make sense?
Well, look, I think they've promoted some good young talent. Senator Jane Hume, Victorian, she's a rising star. She got promoted. You've seen him look after a few people that gave him enormous support in Hawke and Roberts. They were his Praetorian Guard. You've seen not too many complaints about the people he's moved. I mean, there can be no one on any credible basis who suggested that Ms Price should have kept her job given her performance. She's lucky to still have any position in the ministry, so she should be very happy. They promoted the number of women. They've closed down all of the arguments that they were bleeding on in terms of women, in terms of geography. Barnaby Joyce aside, it's a pretty happy camp. Yeah, indeed. And for the Labor Party, what would Anthony Albanese, obviously much of it's dictated by factions, but apparently Bill Shorten wants to stay and he wants the health portfolio. Well, Bill's got still a lot to contribute. He is not a Kevin Rudd. He is not a Malcolm Turnbull. He is someone that actually wants to see the Labor Party succeed. So, you know, people try to say he's either new Kevin Rudd, Malcolm Turnbull. No, Bill is someone that believes the Labor Party comes first. That has been his entire life. The difference between Kevin and Malcolm is they were very much outsiders who came in and they were pursuing their own ambitions to the exclusion of all else. Bill is a party man first, second and third. So Bill still has a lot to contribute, and he has indicated that he feels he should be a nominee. I'm sure he'll get elected. I don't think there'll be any opposition to that. And I think he will make a good contribution going forward. Stephen Conroy, appreciate it. We'll catch you next week. Thanks for that.